Good evening, everyone. What are the obstacles of God's grace in your life? Tonight's text tells us the story of Christ's sermon in the synagogue of Nazareth. The people showed interest and were fascinated by Christ's message. However, at the end, they rejected Christ's message and even tried to throw him off the cliff. So what were the obstacles that hinders them from believing and receiving God's grace? The first obstacle was prejudice. They saw Christ as just a carpenter's son when they asked, "Isn't this Joseph's son?" They did not believe him, and they rejected his offer of grace not because there was a problem with the integrity of Christ, but because they saw him as inferior to them. The second obstacle was pride. Jesus said to them, "Surely you will quote this proverb to me, 'Physician, heal yourself.' And you will tell me, 'Do in your hometown what we have heard that you did in Capernaum.'" Christ revealed the true nature of their hearts. When Christ was gaining honor and fame in front of them, their pride was touched when the carpenter's son displays such great authority and persuasion over the people. And so they rejected Christ's message and offer of grace because of their pride. The third obstacle was they saw Christ as a threat and a competition to their authority, to their office and position. The arrival of the prophet in the Old Testament became a threat to the priestly office. The priest focused on rituals, while the prophets focused on acts of compassion and justice. The prophets were never fully welcomed because of their messages and their work. They rejected the message of Christ, not because he was false or he was powerless, but because they saw him as inferior to them. They rejected the message of Christ because their pride was touched. They rejected the message of Christ because they saw him as a threat or competition. Isn't it true to us also? I think not only issues of prejudice or pride or competition or threat hinders us from believing the messages of Christ in our lives and from dwelling it in our lives, but there are also other issues such as anger. We have anger to other people. We have bitterness to other people. We have bad experiences with other people. We have our own bias. We live in a comfortable life that we don't want to get out of this comfort zone. We have different priorities aside from God's priorities. We have different motivations. And even the length of time when God answers hinders us from moving forward. We just couldn't wait and we want to make it into our own hands. Sometimes our maturity and even other issues hinders us from fully embracing God's message in our lives. Today, I want to tell you, please don't miss God's blessing and grace in your life. That's what happened to the Nazareth people. They missed all these miracles and experiences of God's power and authority over their lives. Because I believe God's invitation to bless you and to set you free is still open. When God says, I pray that you will allow God's grace to help you set aside prejudice, pride, anger, bitterness. And I pray that you will recover from bad experiences. God's message is still true. An offer is still open to us. When God says, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me because He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom to the prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." I pray that you will receive God's promises in your life. It is still open. Receive it. God bless you all.